Hello friends, welcome to my channel Physics in Line. This is MS Rao. Today we are going to make a discussion over another part. Already we made 6 to 7 videos on the reflection of light by plane surface, and it's relevant. So many miscellaneous problems were discussed, and now we are moving on another part, reflection of light by spherical mirrors. See, there are two types of spherical mirrors. Number one, concave mirror or converging mirror, and the second one is convex mirror or diverging mirror. So how can we understand the concave mirror or converging mirror? What is its basic definition? Concave mirror, in the sense, it is a spherical mirror which, when seen from reflecting surface, depressed at the middle and bulging at the edges. That is known as concave mirror. And concave mirror generally collecting the light rays and converges to a point. As a result, it is giving image. So in general, concave mirror is taken to be converging mirror. What does it mean? Converging in the nature means the light rays will be collected after reflection. So that is the meaning of converging mirror. And go for another one, convex mirror. It is also known as diverging mirror. So what is the basic definition of convex mirror? It is a spherical mirror which, when seen from reflecting surface, bulging at the middle and depressed at the edges. A diverging mirror, in the sense, the meaning itself is involved in the name, that is diverging in nature. So whenever the light rays are incident on the spherical mirror, which are diverge from it, therefore it is taken to be diverging mirror. It is not collecting the light rays whenever the reflection takes place by the convex mirror. So here the light rays will be diverge after reflection. Here in this case, light rays are converges to a point, therefore it is converging mirror. See example. When we consider a parallel beam of light, after reflection, they converges to a point. So here, this point of convergence, where the image can be seen for an object. So here, in case of convex mirror or diverging mirror, when light rays are incident on it, they diverge from it. When they are extending, then you will get its corresponding image over here. So light rays are diverging, here the light rays are converging. So when the spherical mirror which converges the light rays after reflection, taken to be converging mirror. When light rays are diverging after reflection, which is taken to be diverging spherical mirror. Next, go for another one. Generally in this topic, often we use technical terms while solving the problems. Regarding them, we should understand first, then go for next concept. So what kind of technical terms are to be used in this part? Let us go for one by one. Number one, center of curvature. Center of curvature. What does it mean? It is the center of a sphere of which mirror is a part. Let us consider a sphere in which mirror is a part. and its center is taken to be center of curvature. If we imagine a line which is passing through its diameter and the remaining portion is removed off, then we consider this as a spherical mirror and this is the center of curvature. From this center, if you take any line that is quite perpendicular to the curvature, so here this line intercepts the principal axis. Of course, it is principal axis. This point is taken to be center of curvature. Always keep in your mind, whenever a line is drawn to a spherical surface normal to it, which definitely intercepts the principal axis, the point of interception is taken to be center of curvature. It's very simple. Our very basic definition is center of curvature means it is center of a sphere of which mirror is a part. Okay. Next, go for another one. Pole. Pole is defined as, it is the midpoint of spherical mirror through which the principal axis is passing. Very simple. This is midpoint of the spherical mirror. This is spherical mirror and this is midpoint. Okay, the midpoint of the spherical mirror through which the principal axis is passing is known as pole of the spherical mirror. This is pole. Third one is radius of curvature. Radius of curvature. See, center of curvature and this is pole. The distance between the center of curvature and the pole is said to be radius of curvature. Next, fourth one is principal axis. What is principal axis? It is a straight line joining the center of curvature and pole of the spherical mirror and extends on both sides. Simply, the line passing through center of curvature and the pole of the spherical mirror is taken to be principal axis. Next one is principal focus. Principal focus. What is principal focus? It is a point at which the light rays are converges or appear to be diverged from it after reflection by the spherical mirror. So, how can we understand this one? Go for example. It is a concave spherical mirror. The light rays are incidenting on this spherical mirror. After reflection, they converges to a point. This point of convergence is taken to be principal focus. This is principal focus. In case of convex spherical mirror, again a parallel beam of light is incident on it. After reflection, they diverge. These diverging light rays are extended. They intercept at a point. This point is known as principal focus. Again, I repeat the definition once again. It is a point where the light rays are converges or appear to be diverged from it when parallel beam of light is incident on concave or convex mirror. Okay, right? Once again I repeat this definition. It is a point. Which one? Principal focus. Principal focus is a point where the light rays are converges or appear to be diverge after reflection when a parallel beam of light is incidenting on the spherical mirror. Right? So this is principal focus. Go for another one. Sixth, focal length. Focal length, f, small f. The distance between, see here, I will show over here, this is principal focus and this is pole. The distance between principal focus and the pole is taken to be focal length. And here, this is pole and this is principal focus. The distance between pole and the principal focus is defined as focal length. So focal length is generally represented by small f, which is measured in general in centimeters or in meters. Now go for another one, seventh one. Seventh one is aperture. So what is the meaning of aperture? It's very, very important. So when a student, one who doesn't know any meaning of these technical words which are often used, then he can't go even a single step to understand the problems related to this chapter. Now, this is aperture. 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 It is a diameter of outer line of the spherical mirror is defined as the aperture. So outline of this spherical mirror and its diameter is taken as the aperture. This is aperture. This part is aperture. Okay. Now, once again I remind all these terms which are often used in this part. Center of curvature. It is center of a sphere of which mirror is a part. Pole. It is a midpoint of the spherical mirror through which principal axis passes. And next one is radius of curvature. The distance between center of curvature and the pole of the spherical mirror is radius of curvature. Principal axis. The line joining the center of curvature and pole of the spherical mirror is defined as principal axis. Principal focus. It is a point towards which the light rays are converges or appear to be diverged from it after reflection when the light is incident on the spherical mirror. Next, focal length. The distance between the principal focus and the pole is defined as focal length. Aperture. It is the diameter of the outer outline of the spherical mirror is known as aperture. And next one, eighth one and last one, principal focal plane. Focal plane. What is the focal plane? So it is a plane passing through principal focus and perpendicular to principal axis is known as focal plane. So in which situation we use this term, focal plane? See here, in case of principal focus, so light rays are incidenting on the spherical mirror. It is a parallel beam is incidenting on it. So whenever the parallel beam of light is incident on the spherical mirror, after reflection, the light rays converges to a point which is said to be focus point, or appear to be diverged from a point. That point is said to be focus point, principal focus. So here, whenever the parallel beam of light is parallel to principal axis, then we can get the principal focus point is on principal axis. Whereas sometimes a parallel beam of light is incident on the spherical mirror, which may not be parallel to principal axis. See, this is parallel beam, right? Now after reflection, the light rays are converges to a point and giving its image, but it should not be on the principal axis. It is somewhere off the principal axis, but here if we imagine a plane passing through this principal focus and perpendicular to principal axis, this plane is taken to be focal plane. Focal plane. Whenever, wherever a parallel beam is inciding, whether this parallel beam is parallel to principal axis or other than parallel to principal axis, definitely the image will formed at the same point, that is focus point. That focus point, either it located on the principal axis or out of the principal axis, but the distance should not be changed from pole to that focus point, but it should be lie on the plane which is passes through principal focus and perpendicular to the principal axis. This is known as focal plane. Next, one more point. It's a very important point. Whenever a parallel beam of light is considered, so keep in our mind, we should take that object is at infinity. For infinity object, the beam of light which is going to be incident on the spherical mirror, definitely the object should be at infinity. Whether this parallel beam is parallel to principal axis or other than the parallel to principal axis. Simply, there is a parallel beam of light incident, means object is at infinity. Simple, right? Next, go for another concept. A very important concept is marginal rays and paraxial rays. Once a student who knows the meaning of marginal rays and paraxial rays, then he has no hurdle at all to understand the problems while solving, either in mains or in advanced level. Now, number one, marginal rays. Marginal rays. Marginal rays means the light rays which are incident on the spherical mirror, which are far away from the principal axis. Far away from the principal axis. These rays are taken to be marginal rays. And the second one is paraxial rays. Paraxial rays. The light rays which are incident on the spherical mirror, which are close to the principal axis. These are the paraxial rays. Marginal ray, I will show both the rays in same diagram. These are the paraxial rays. And marginal ray, this is marginal ray. This is marginal ray. This is marginal ray and this is paraxial ray. This is marginal ray and this is paraxial ray. So what are the results which are getting after reflection whenever marginal rays are incidenting on the spherical mirror and also paraxial rays are incidenting on the spherical mirror? So in 10th class level, generally the light rays after reflection, when they are incident on the spherical mirror, after reflection the light ray must pass through the principal focus when the incident light is parallel to the principal axis. This is common statement. Often you might be listen that kind of statement in 10th class, but this is one of the cases actually. Actually, what is happening there? It is this statement, whatever the statement just now I was given, that statement is only applicable for paraxial rays. Means the light rays which are very close to the principal axis, after reflection they must pass through principal focus. No doubt at all, it is absolutely correct. Whereas the marginal rays are incidenting on the spherical mirror, after reflection, they never go through principal focus. They may go in between focus and the pole, and sometimes the light rays after reflection, they passes beyond this pole also. Beyond the pole. In general, if marginal ray is incident on the spherical mirror after reflection, that passes like this, not through the principal focus. So it is only possible for paraxial rays, not for marginal rays. So this much difference you must know before going to spherical mirror formula, and also relation between focal length and radius of curvature of the spherical mirror. Now, so this is marginal ray and this is paraxial ray. So I would expect this is understood properly for everyone. So once again I repeat, this is marginal ray. After reflection, the marginal ray never pass through the focus point, but the paraxial ray must pass through the principal focus. Now, suppose if marginal rays from paraxial ray to marginal rays, so many light rays are incidenting, then what is happening? What kind of diagram we can understand over here? So, next rays are incidenting here, then after reflection, pass it like this, incidenting, pass like this, next like this, next light, yes, next. So the light rays after reflection, they passes through any point that starts from the principal focus to anywhere. Even some rays beyond the pole of the spherical mirror is also possible. Okay. Now the boundary line is focus point. So in front of the focus point, you should not be expect the light should not pass through before the focus point. Any light after reflection, that must pass through principal focus if it is paraxial. Otherwise, the light rays are passes through any point beyond the focus point or beyond the pole after reflection. Okay. Next, go for another one based on this marginal and paraxial rays. One more concept. See, the question is, a marginal ray is incident on the spherical mirror. This is pole. After reflection, the light passes through the pole. After reflection, light passes through the pole. Now, what will be the angle of incidence for which the light passes through the pole after reflection when incident on the spherical mirror? This is question. Now let us find that angle of incidence. This is angle of incidence. So this is angle of reflection. We know from law of reflection. This is normal drawn. This is center of curvature. Already I was given that whenever a normal is drawn to the spherical mirror, which is definitely giving the interception on the point of interception on the principal axis where the center of curvature is taken into account, and this center of curvature to the pole, it is radius of curvature R, and from here to here also radius of curvature R. Okay, this is angle of incidence, this is also angle of incidence, alternate angles. But here I is equal to R from law of reflection. From law of reflection, I is equal to R. Therefore, R, instead of R we consider this is also I. This is R, this is R, this is I, this is I, and definitely this is also R, where this is also angle I. From this triangle, total angle is 3I, which is equal to 180 degree in the triangle. Therefore, angle of incidence equal to 60 degree. So, very important point is, whenever a ray of light is incident on the spherical mirror at angle of incidence 60 degree, after reflection, light passes through pole of the spherical mirror. Okay? The next, go for another point. One more question. This is a spherical mirror. Let us consider a margin para-auxiliary, which is incident on the spherical mirror. This is center of curvature. After reflection, already I was given that when a paraxial ray is incident on the spherical mirror, after reflection they must pass through principal focus. Of course, after reflection this is passing through a point. This is P and this is say Q. Now this is the angle of incidence. This is the angle of reflection. And this is the angle of incidence. This is also angle of incidence, because this angle, alternate angles. Now, from center to the surface, it is the radius of curvature, R. From here to pole, it is also R. Okay. Now, a perpendicular line is drawn. Perpendicular line is drawn on the line C and A. Now this divides equally to this radius of curvature R. This is R by 2. Okay. How it is? How it divides equally? This is I. Again, this is R is nothing but I. From law of reflection, I is equal to R. Therefore, this is I, this is I, this is also I. In this triangle, this is I, this is opposite angles are equal. From third vertex, a perpendicular line is drawn and definitely it cuts into two equal parts. Therefore, this is R by 2. Now, say from here to here, say X, and from this point to this point, say QP is focal length, because it is principal focus. Already from the fundamentals I was given a statement. Now from this triangle CNC, CNQ, from triangle CNQ, from triangle CNQ, cos I is equal to R by 2 by X. Therefore, X is equal to R by 2 cos I. R by 2 cos I. Now, focal length. Focal length, that is QP, which is equal to F, which is equal to R radius of curvature from here to here, radius of curvature from which this X is subtracted, CQ, R minus CQ. This F is equal to R minus CQ is X. F is equal to R minus X equal to R by 2 cos I. From this formula, for paraxial rays, angle of incidence decreases it's a very negligible value. Once we see in the diagram, very simple to understand. For a marginal ray, normal is drawn. Suppose a normal is drawn. Here angle of incidence I. When ray is slowly moving down and approaches to principal axis, see here in this case, normal is drawn and here angle of incidence I1 is somewhat less than this I. As we are going to down, again normal is drawn, here angle is decreased. If you are going down, in the sense, if you are approaching to the principal axis, then angle of incidence gradually decreases. Simply, when we consider paraxial rays and marginal rays, for marginal rays angle of incidence is greater, for paraxial rays angle of incidence will be very negligible. Very negligible. Means it is 5 degree, 6 degree or 10 degree. Okay, very negligible amount. Already we calculated that in the case of marginal rays, after reflection, the reflected ray passes through pole of the spherical mirror where angle of incidence already calculated, which is 60 degree. Just before this problem, I was explained that. So angle of incidence for marginal rays 60 degree. 60 degree is a huge amount. Whereas for paraxial rays, angle of incidence is not that much. It's a very negligible amount. Therefore, for paraxial rays, I tends to 0. Therefore, cos I tends to 1. Therefore, by substituting this value in this equation, F is equal to R by 2. Cos I is equal to 1. Therefore, finally F is equal to R minus R by 2 gives R by 2. This is the relation between focal length and radius of curvature of the spherical mirror. Focal length and radius of curvature of the spherical mirror. Next we move on another part. Next one is sign conventions. Generally for spherical mirror or lenses, so all these devices, means optical instruments, say. So we use sign conventions. So here also for spherical mirror, we should take sign convention. Based on that, we solve the problems. Sign convention number 1. Whenever, wherever possible, the light rays are assumed to be traveling from left to right. See here, I will show. This is a spherical mirror. Whenever, wherever possible, we should consider the light rays are traveling from left to right. Left to right. So this is point number 1. Point number 2. All the distances measured from pole of the spherical mirror. All the distances means either the distance of the object or the distance of the image or the radius of curvature. Once again I repeat, the distance of the object, the distance of the image and radius of curvature. So all these should be measured from pole of the spherical mirror. So it is pole. Okay. Third one. The distances measured in the direction of incident light taken to be positive, and those measured in the direction opposite to the incident light taken to be negative. See here, let us consider to understand this one. So we consider object. Say this is object. This is object. Next. So this is image. Distance of the object. distance of the image. Object distance taken to be u, image distance is v. Now, generally object is keeping in front of the mirror. So this is the real object. From the real object, the light rays are diverged from it. Already its basic was given in previous videos. Now the light is coming from this object and incident on the spherical mirror. Means light is traveling in this direction. Okay. Now this is incident light. Incident ray or incident light. With reference to this incident light, we should consider the distances, either they are getting negative value or positive value. Point number 1, we should measure all the distances from the pole. Second one, the reference, that incident light is taken into account as a reference. Okay. Now see here, object distance we are going to measure how its sign is to be decided. From pole to the object, we are measuring from pole to object because all the distances measured from the pole to object. You are going in which direction? Pole to object. That quite opposite to the incident light. This is incident light. We are going against, opposite. Therefore, object distance taken to be negative when you are measuring the distance opposite to the incident ray. Okay, next, image distance. We are measuring the image distance in the same direction. Incident light and the measurement from pole to the image in the direction of incident light. Therefore, this distance taken to be positive. Okay, so I will give the statement once again. The distances which are measured in the direction of incident light taken to be positive, and those measured against the incident light are taken to be negative. Suppose radius of curvature. Say here normal is drawn to this spherical surface. This is normal. Here center of curvature. Say this is radius of curvature. This radius of curvature is also measured from the pole. Pole to the center. We are going opposite to the incident light. This is incident light. We are going in opposite. Therefore, radius of curvature is also negative value. This is the way to decide the sign convention, signs of object distance, image distance, and radius of curvature. Suppose in case of convex mirror, we consider convex mirror, or in case of concave mirror, real image is found. Of course, this is object and this is image. Object distance is, this is pole. Object distance is u, image distance is v. Okay. Now, this is incident light. Light starts from the object. This is image. Now, object distance measured from the pole against, therefore u is taken to be negative. And v, this is image distance, pole to image. Again incident light, we are going against the incident light, therefore v is also negative. So very simple to understand this third sign convention. And fourth sign convention, the heights above the principal axis taken to be positive and below which taken to be negative. So what is the meaning of it? See here, this is object example. This is object. Its height is h0. Its height is hi. See, the heights of the object above the principal axis taken to be positive and below which negative. So whenever the objects are above the principal axis, they are taken to be positive, and they are below the principal axis taken to be negative. Simple. Above positive, below negative. Right? So these are the sign conventions which are taken into account while solving the problems. And finally, Cartesian coordinates. By taking that, so we can understand all these things. Okay, let us see that. Coordinate system, x-axis positive, y-axis positive, y-axis negative, x-axis negative. Just imagine a spherical mirror at the origin. Spherical mirror. Object is keeping here, say, this is H0. Suppose its corresponding image is formed over here, see. From this pole, so object distance measured in which direction? Towards left, along negative x-axis. Along negative x-axis, value taken to be negative. It's simple understanding. Object distance, we are taking that negative value. So image distance that we are measuring from pole to image in the direction of incident light. Therefore, it is positive. V is taken to be positive. Height of the object along positive y-axis, it is taken to be positive. And suppose this height of image also positive. Suppose in any case, if image is downward, suppose real image is formed downward, that height is taken to be measured along negative y-axis. Therefore, its value is also taken to be negative. Very simple. Towards the negative x-axis, negative value. Towards positive x-axis, positive value. Towards positive y-axis, positive value. Towards negative y-axis, negative value. So, along y direction, generally we consider here height of the object, height of the image. Height is either upward or downward, along positive y-axis or negative y-axis. According to Cartesian coordinates, and their sign can be decided by the geometry. Here, object distance and image distance, generally they are taking along x-axis. Towards negative x-axis negative, towards positive positive. According to that, the very basic point or sign convention, the first point, I repeat once again, whenever, wherever possible, the light is assumed to be traveling from left to right. Therefore, here also, the light is taking from left to right and it is to be applicable. In such case, don't get any confusion. Okay, these are the sign conventions. Thank you.